So if you're an OnlyFans creator, whether or not you're new to the game or you've been in the game for a while, you've probably already realized that not every pretty girl with a big rack gets rich on OnlyFans. But the creators who do get rich on OnlyFans, whether that's 5 figures monthly, 6 figures monthly, or 7 figures monthly, all have these 3 traits in common. And these 3 traits have nothing to do with look. As a matter of fact, these 3 traits beat bust size every time. Trait number 1, coachability. So this one is super simple. A 6 out of 10 on the relative imaginary completely subjective beauty scale will be a 10 out of 10 on a relative imaginary completely subjective beauty scale if the 6 out of 10 is able to take instruction, take feedback, implement different things, look at different strategies, and the 10 out of 10 thinks she knows everything, so she puts up resistance and doesn't want to experiment and try different things in possibly a different way than she was anticipating. I'm not saying you have to do anything and everything. I'm just saying the 6 out of 10 open to feedback, willing to implement and execute is going to beat the 10 out of 10 who thinks she knows everything all the time. Trait number 2, creators who actually want to make content. I know this one sounds kind of silly, kind of crazy, and a little bit ridiculous, but this is a very important trait for the creators that end up being successful. So it's very important to be the type of creator that actually wants to create. I know, crazy, but it counts. It counts a lot. The creator who sees making content as a job, as a task, as a burden is going to drag her feet, is going to make the least amount of content possible and then expect the best possible results from it. But how it actually does work is the creators who treat content creation as an art form, not as a burden, but as something that they enjoy doing. They like seeing themselves on camera. They like working on their creative expression. They like trying new things. They like coming up with fun ideas. Those are the creators that will absolutely blow the other creators out of the water. The ones who kind of don't like the idea of making content. So it's not just about money. I mean, the end goal is money, but it's about falling in love with the process of content creation. That's a trait that unfortunately, if you don't possess, you're competing against people who do, and those are the people making those 6-figure months. And trait number 3, creators that treat this like a startup and not a side hustle. And all that means is that there is a big distinction between the creators willing to spend 16 or more hours a week. Some creators you're competing with will spend 40 to 50 hours a week on this, but the creators that are willing to put in a minimum of 16 hours a week every week for possibly months on end, as opposed to the creators who want to put in a couple hours when they feel like it and then think that with the minimum amount of work, they're going to become rich and get the maximum amount of benefit and reward. And we're talking about 16 hours a week for a minimum of 3 to 6 months before you actually blow up and break through. The algorithm will ultimately respond to strategy and your work ethic and your output. If you can take direction, if you can implement immediately, if you can look at data and not argue with the data because the data doesn't really care about your feelings, then you're already in the 5% of creators. I promise you. Because most creators who are outside that 5% at best will have one of these 3 traits, but the ones that have all 3, it's almost impossible for them to lose. So stay tuned for part 2 to this, where I explain how having a small following is actually a weapon. So like and subscribe and stay tuned for more.